Emma didn't expect that Jackson, in his middle age, would become unemployed. He had been in a mid-level position at the company for many years, and the income was good. They thought he could work until retirement, but unexpectedly, he was laid off. Despite the compensation from the company, their peaceful life was shattered. In those days, Jackson was disheartened, listless, and spoke with a lack of energy. He still woke up early every day but didn't know what to do after getting up, his eyes filled with confusion. Their eldest daughter was in high school, staying at the school dormitory and coming home once a month. The youngest daughter was in junior high. Emma made breakfast, and the youngest daughter, with sleepy eyes, finished it. Jackson voluntarily offered to take the youngest daughter to school. The youngest daughter was unaware of Jackson's unemployment. She was just happy that her usually busy dad could finally take her to school. However, Emma noticed that the smile on Jackson's face seemed forced. Before, Jackson rarely did household chores. With a higher income, his work naturally kept him busy. When he returned home, he either chatted with his daughters or lay on the sofa playing with his phone. Emma had no objections because Jackson's entire salary went to her. Even though it's said that men and women are equal, Emma felt that in their family, there was still a division of labor between the husband and wife. Jackson was responsible for earning money to support the family, and she took care of the children and household chores. Of course, Emma also had a job, but it was easy, and her salary was only a fifth of Jackson's. So Emma never complained about Jackson being lazy. She believed they were a family, and it didn't matter who did more or less. Now that Jackson was unemployed, Emma, to maintain his dignity, insisted on doing household chores every day. She wanted him to know that her past efforts were not just because he could earn money but also because she had feelings for him. She also wanted him to understand that even if he was out of work, she wouldn't look down on him. But for Jackson, as a man, he couldn't accept being idle all day. After a few days of decadence, he went out to look for a job. The reality, however, was far from ideal. In his early 40s, he had to compete with a group of people in their 20s, and sometimes, he even had to be supervised by younger colleagues. In each job, Jackson couldn't stay for long, either feeling stifled or dissatisfied with the income. Emma saw this and was anxious but dared not say anything to avoid upsetting him. She knew he felt deeply frustrated, and she had to consider his emotions. So, she comforted him, telling him not to worry and to take his time to find something suitable. Emma and Jackson were college classmates, and they fell in love on campus, spending many sweet and wonderful moments together. Both of them came from small towns in different provinces, with very ordinary family backgrounds. After graduation, they stayed in the city where the university was located and got married once their jobs stabilized. With no support from their families, they had to rely on their own efforts to settle down in the big city. Initially, they rented an apartment. At that time, Emma hesitated to buy things she liked, fearing the hassle of moving. Later, as they saved some money, they bought their first house. It wasn't large and was second-hand, but it was their true home. Eventually, they upgraded to a brand new, larger house and even bought a car. Now, with all loans paid off, Emma had savings of $800,000 to $900,000. For people like them, with no significant background, reaching this stage was truly not easy. The hardships they endured couldn't be summed up in just a few words. When their children were young, Emma's mother-in-law helped with childcare, leading to frequent conflicts between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Emma silently endured, afraid that making a scene would be unseemly. She swallowed her grievances, not even complaining to Jackson, as she didn't want to put him in a difficult position. As the children grew older, Emma's mother-in-law returned to her hometown. However, Emma and Jackson still had differences in parenting. Jackson advocated for a happy childhood for the children, while Emma feared that a happy childhood might lead to a difficult adulthood. Fortunately, they were reasonable people and gradually realized they couldn't go to extremes. They allowed the children to play when it was time to play but insisted on the importance of studying. Both children were well-educated, sensible, and excelled in one or two talents. Over the years, Emma and Jackson's relationship remained stable. They both took care of the family, without any hidden motives, wholeheartedly loving their children. Although there was not much romance or surprises in their lives, Emma felt that being able to peacefully spend each day with her family was already very happy. Even though they weren't wealthy, they had no worries about food and clothing. Every month, they would go to restaurants a few times. Every summer, they would take leave and travel with their two daughters. During the holidays or changing seasons, they would also buy new clothes for themselves. Emma had envisioned that when their two daughters grew up, and she and Jackson retired, they would cultivate flowers and plants on the balcony and have a cat. On sunny days, she could sunbathe with Jackson on the balcony, while the little cat lazily lounged nearby. Emma found this scene to be incredibly beautiful. However, Jackson's unemployment was like a stone thrown into calm water, creating ripples and disrupting their once peaceful and stable life. After more than half a year of turmoil, Jackson completely abandoned the idea of finding another job and decided to start his own business. This wasn't solely his idea but a decision made in consultation with a few colleagues who were also laid off. They planned to stick to their expertise, utilizing their familiarity and experience in the field, and perhaps leverage some existing connections. They all believed that instead of bowing down to work for someone else, taking a risk might lead to some success. Upon hearing Jackson's plan, Emma immediately expressed strong opposition without hesitation. The current economic environment was not favorable, and the risks of entrepreneurship were exceedingly high. Each of them had to contribute $300,000 as startup capital, a substantial amount. Most crucially, the uncertain future investment was a significant concern. If the startup failed, all the money invested would go down the drain, a result Emma could not accept under any circumstances. However, Jackson remained unyielding, brimming with ambition, asserting that they were confident it would work. He insisted that if they didn't give it a try, he would never be content in his life. He even told Emma that he only needed the initial $300,000, and if it didn't work out, he would completely give up and resort to delivering takeout or driving for a ride-sharing service. Emma, on the other hand, wasn't as optimistic. She had a friend who started a business, initially claiming to need only $200,000, but later requesting additional investments. In the end, nearly $1 million was poured in, yielding no returns. Her friend lost all their savings and had to return to regular employment. Emma feared a similar fate for Jackson. The initial $300,000 was just the startup capital, and there could be additional financial demands later on. The dilemma was whether to invest further or not. Not investing meant losing everything invested so far. Investing could lead to even greater losses. Emma couldn't afford to gamble with both sets of parents relying on them in the future, and their two children still in school. She could accept Jackson earning less or not earning at all but couldn't accept putting their household's money at risk with no guarantee of return. Emma tried to present facts and reason, thinking she could convince him. However, Jackson saw Emma as timid and short-sighted, considering her a stumbling block on his path to success. Regardless of Jackson's strong desire to start a business, if Emma didn't relent, he couldn't proceed. However, the funds from the other partners quickly came through, and the office was already rented, leaving only Jackson to finalize the arrangement. After pleading with Emma in hushed tones several times without success, Jackson became frustrated. He packed his clothes and daily necessities and moved to the office, even threatening that unless Emma gave him money, he wouldn't return home. Emma was furious, feeling that Jackson's actions were a blatant threat. Initially, out of consideration for Jackson's dignity, Emma hadn't informed both sets of parents about his unemployment, not even letting close friends in on the matter. However, Jackson leaving home without notice triggered Emma's anger. She refused to give him money because she was thinking about the well-being of their family, not wanting their hard-earned savings to disappear. Emma hadn't squandered the money on herself, so why would he act this way? In her anger, Emma impulsively revealed in the family group chat that Jackson was unemployed and insisted on starting a business. She hoped everyone would advise him since they were in their middle age with elderly parents and children to care for, seeking stability. After Emma spoke, the typically quiet group suddenly became lively. Some expressed regret, others were grateful they didn't face the risk of unemployment in their institutional jobs, and some even mentioned Jackson, urging him to find a stable job instead of impulsively starting a business. Emma thought that Jackson would listen to the advice of relatives and abandon the idea of entrepreneurship. However, Jackson didn't respond in the group chat, and he didn't come home. Instead, he called Emma and criticized her for airing private matters in the group. Emma became even more enraged. Since Jackson's parents were not active on WeChat due to their age, she decided to call them directly, hoping they could persuade Jackson. Her reasoning was that he might not listen to relatives, but he should at least heed his parents' words. Jackson's parents bought train tickets that day and rushed over. They called Jackson while on the way, urging him to return home promptly. This time, Jackson finally came back. His parents scolded him, telling him to listen to his wife, stop causing trouble, and lead a proper life. Facing his parents, Jackson promised to behave, and Emma breathed a sigh of relief. Since the elderly couple made the effort to visit, Emma took them around the city's attractions, treated them to local delicacies, and took excellent care of them. Jackson didn't return to the office during this period. Instead, he stayed at home every day. Unexpectedly, as soon as Jackson's parents left, he brought up the idea of divorce. He said he didn't want the house or the car, he only wanted half of the savings. Jackson claimed that Emma didn't trust him and looked down on him, making their life together unbearable. Emma was panicking. She had never considered divorce. Their eldest daughter was about to take the college entrance exam next year, and the younger one was preparing for the high school entrance exam. Divorce would undoubtedly have a negative impact on them. During the days when Jackson stayed in the office, Emma had lied to the younger daughter, saying he was on a business trip. Moreover, after so many years of shared emotions, from their youthful exuberance to the present middle age, how could they easily let go of the years they had spent together, the storms they had weathered? Emma couldn't accept that Jackson wanted a divorce over a sum of $300,000, no matter what. Unable to contain herself, Emma confided in her best friend. After hearing Emma's story, her friend said that Emma had been wrong from the beginning. Emma was puzzled, as she believed her opposition to Jackson's entrepreneurial plans was for the sake of their family and children. Her friend explained that, at middle age, losing a job is undoubtedly a blow to one's confidence, and Jackson urgently needed acknowledgement and affirmation. For him, entrepreneurship wasn't just about making money, it represented the realization of dignity and self-worth. Men at this age fear not being loved by women, they fear not being respected. Moreover, even though Jackson earned most of the money in the family, when it came to spending, he had no autonomy, which naturally made him unhappy. The friend further noted that Jackson had been leading a stable life for many years, and if not for unforeseen circumstances, he might have continued to do so conventionally. However, now he was unwilling to admit defeat, he wanted to prove his capabilities. Instead of discouraging him, Emma needed to understand and support him. Not trying would never make him give up. Some money must be spent, and if it's lost, consider it a lesson. If it succeeds, everyone benefits. He wasn't gambling or making reckless investments, and Emma shouldn't have denied him every penny. Back home, Emma pondered her friend's words repeatedly and found them quite reasonable. She had never considered divorce, yet she and Jackson were now on the brink of it. However, Emma didn't think she was at fault. She had always been cautious, accustomed to planning ahead and avoiding risky endeavors. Sometimes in marriage, assigning blame isn't necessary. Being too rational or nitpicking can damage the relationship. The next day, Emma handed Jackson a bank card with the $300,000. He remained calm, saying he would give it his all this time, and if it failed, he would accept his fate. Jackson didn't bring up divorce again, and he no longer stayed at the office, he came home every day. However, Emma felt that something had changed between them, as if an additional barrier had emerged, altering their previous intimacy. Emma knew that in the future, if Jackson made money, he probably wouldn't readily hand it over to her. While their marriage was preserved, cracks had appeared in their relationship. Over $300,000, their family almost fell apart. Previously, Emma only knew that second marriages often faced financial issues. She was thankful that she and Jackson were the original couple with shared children, thinking they wouldn't encounter such problems. Now she understood that, for ordinary couples, money remained a difficult hurdle to overcome. Emma sighed, feeling an indescribable sense of melancholy.